Welcome everyone! It's a very nice time of the year. It's once again consolidation period on Bitcoin, meaning that altcoins can slowly start waking up. What stage are we in with the markets in general? We're going to dive into that in this update on Bitcoin, and I'm going to discuss which altcoins I'm expecting to do well, as some of them are actually doing quite well while you are focused on the losses that you have on your own positions. Let's get to the charts, but before that, do not forget to subscribe beneath, like the content, and comment if you want to see some special content on this YouTube channel. So, first of all, we've got Bitcoin here, which is currently consolidating nicely. And I've made this scenario just as an opinion of what I'm assuming is going to happen next on the markets in itself. So what do we see? Well, we've had many of those sideways periods after the very volatile crash, which is comparable to what we saw in September 2020, when we crashed significantly down as well to retest some levels, after which the grind continued. In this case, we are looking at the exact same figure. We did see a very nice bottoming formation in which we made a bullish divergence. After that, we flipped the previous level for support, and now we are just consolidating sideways, meaning that it will probably take some time before we're going to make a new impulse wave, as usually after a crash it takes a period of time to consolidate and to test all the levels of resistance and support before we can start accelerating again. That's also given the fact that the volume is just draining down, hype is away. It's just going to take some time, and especially if you look at the previous cycles, it shows a very nice example of that as well. During 2016 we had some very harsh corrections too, and after that it took months before we started to run again. Therefore, the idea of Bitcoin going into a longer cycle than the previous one is still very valid. You can see that there is always a period of consolidation before the next run starts to happen. 2018 also heavy crash, bear market times. March 2020 heavy crash. Since then it took about 2 months before we started to grind upwards again, but even then we can see that we had period of consolidation, and right now we can see the exact same. What do we see? We are still beneath the critical level of resistance. I've been discussing this previously. We had to crack through it in order to be able to get to 46 to 49, as that is the critical resistance zone to break after that. So right now we can see that we're still consolidating. The recent low is this critical area at 33.5. So as a matter of fact, that's the crucial level that I'd prefer to stay above. But in general, this entire daily block I'd want to see sustain as support, because if that is going to happen, we are going to have continuation in this entire cycle, and we're granting ourselves higher highs and higher lows. So what are altcoins going to do? Well, altcoins have been crashing down at the day that Bitcoin crashed to 28k. So the longer Bitcoin stays sideways and goes in a calm period, the more they will be starting to wake up, because the market is getting calm again. They are slowly making updates again on their projects, and people feel comfortable way more by trading altcoins once again. So what are they going to do? They are going to go back to the levels prior to the crash, because nothing has changed on them. Meaning that you'll probably see big moves in one go on some of those altcoins. So which altcoins am I focused on mostly? Those are DeFi coins still. So first one is not entirely DeFi, but they want to look at it. One of them is Swipe, for instance. What do we see on this structure? Well, we went below the 100-day and 200-day MA, but we are breaking back above the 200 MA. If that flips for support, we can see continuation. So you want to see Swipe hold above 53 on it. Then the critical resistance zone is very comparable to Bitcoin at 40.7. This level has to break. If that breaks for Swipe, the next real hurdle is only found around this area. So if it breaks above the 100 MA, we are most likely going to continue moving towards this area here, which is already almost 2x, 1.5x. After that, we grant ourselves a new higher low by flipping the moving averages for support, and then we can start expanding and continuing the movement momentum. So when we get this breaker to the upside, which seems very likely as we took the low, grind back up, and now we continue moving, we have to hold 53. If we break 63, I think we're going to continue moving towards that area in just one go. So I'm very interested in the altcoin still because nothing really has changed. The structure was fine. This entire drawdown is just an outlier based on Bitcoin. The momentum was still there in the altcoins, and the more Bitcoin is going to grind, the more heavier the altcoins will start to wake up in general. And especially some altcoins are not even that far down on their Bitcoin pair since the recent crash. This is the period that we were crashing on Tomo chain. You can see it. Right now we can see that we're still consolidating nicely, in which the critical level that it has to hold in order to sustain the upwards momentum is the recent low. That's this entire block here. But we are back above the 100-day and 200-day MA. We are slightly making a higher high. And therefore, if we crack this resistance zone, so you can see that that's the block that we have to break through, which is this region. If that breaks, we start a new impulse wave, just like we have been breaking out of accumulation periods on and on. So this doesn't look that bad at all. We are actually in the green since the crash on the Bitcoin value on Tomo chain. And there are more of them that are doing pretty much fine at this stage. Algorand is ready to make the breaker, as the critical level that Algo had to hold on to is holding support. So most likely this entire structure of higher highs and higher lows is going to continue moving towards the new highs. So the cycle will just continue on them. And then we have another one, which is Orion, the fourth one that I wanted to discuss. Heavy corrective move. I'll just erase the moving averages for a little bit to make it clean. Heavy corrective move came all the way down towards this block before we started to break out. If you look at the 4 hour, you can see that we've got this block here. We got support there. Right now we have bounced from it. The critical area of resistance is still found. That's this entire block, which is also avoiding any new breakout to the upside, because if Orion breaks through it, you're going to see a big run towards the upper resistance zone. What is the area to hold? There are a few areas that I'm very interested in. Preferably you want to see Orion hold the area around 2150 sats. If that doesn't hold, the recent low is the second area of support that you could be looking at. So these two are entries, and then we want to see it consolidate towards the red zone. If red breaks, I'm looking at the next area here. But I've said that I'm interested in DeFi. And there's one that I wanted to bring out here, which is Curve. And IV and IV2 are looking at the exact same picture here. Resistance area still, you can just draw the entire block that we have here. That didn't break in one go. That is still the resistance zone. But right now, Curve is approaching support. I'm not sure whether we're going to fill this entire block here. But I'm suspecting us that we're going to have a nice bounce back up, creating another higher low, after which we can continue making the momentum or making the movements, in which this drawdown is just an outlier based on Bitcoin. Once we break above this resistance zone, we can start running heavily, as then there is not much between these two levels and there are still big gaps. So we can see that Curve and all those other DeFi projects are still waking up on their Bitcoin value. And yes, it takes time. And yes, nobody is interested in altcoins right now. But some of them are actually doing quite well. And some of them are looking like they want to break out heavily. So there are still many opportunities. So dive into them. These are the ones that I'm following. Do not forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.